What is happening, fellow Cobras? Welcome back to Strike First Media, where I'm joined by an amazing guest. You may recognize him from General Hospital as AJ Quartermain, but I think most of us here today will recognize him as Karate's bad boy, Mike Barnes, and the author of the most badass book on the market today, The Way of the Cobra. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and only Sean Kanan, who's with us today.
Hey, brother, how are you?
I'm doing phenomenal. How about you? How's your week going?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me.
No, thank you for coming on the channel. It's been something I've wanted for a long time, and it's just crazy that where I'm at today, where we're all at, and just to finally have you here, I really appreciate it.
Be careful what you ask for. You just might get it.
Exactly. Especially when your karate's a joke, you know. So, jumping into the first question, I mean, I've read this phenomenal book. Everyone else should too. I mean, I've linked in the comments or the description below where you purchased this wayofthecobra.com, I believe. What inspired you to write this to help people, you know?
A couple of years ago, I found myself in a place where I had some pretty good success and I had some epic failures, some of which were rather public. And, I was looking in the mirror saying, okay, what's next, man? What's act two here? And I was 35 pounds overweight. I had no prospects for acting jobs at that point in time. And I was becoming very apathetic about a lot of stuff. And I realized I needed to do some stuff very differently, very quickly. And rather than wait for the ship to come in, I decided I was going to build the damn ship. I just had to figure out how to do it. And I started doing some things very differently, and very quickly I started having some amazing results. I had been working on a self-help book at one point and had put it away in the drawer. And, in a lot of ways, this book really kind of saved me, because I realized that if I was going to write a book where I was elevating myself to the position of being a sensei and teaching people, I had to walk it like I talked it. And not only that, I didn't want to come across as preaching to anybody. So I figured the best way to do that was to try and connect with my readers by sharing, honesty about my life. I mean, I always tell people, before you think I'm levitating on top of some mountain in Kathmandu contemplating my navel, I've made every one of these mistakes half a dozen times over or more. And so I come from a place of, I'm just a guy like you trying to figure it out. And here's some of what I've figured out in my 55 years. And I've been able to make some incredible changes, and I think it'll help you. And, in that 1 year, I was able to lose the 35 pounds. My second book, Success Factor X, became an Amazon new release bestseller. And I got my show Studio City on the air that I created. And we were nominated for 19 Emmys, and we won 3, one of which I won. And I don't tell people that to impress them. I say it to impress upon them what you can do when you get clear with your goals and when you've got a good plan of action.
That's incredible. And I agree. Like, that's just a testament to all the hard work and effort that you've put into being successful and perfecting your craft. And what I love the most about this is that, I mean, I like myself, I go through struggles just like every other human being, and just the lessons that you are telling us and teaching us in this book, it's really helped my lives in ways that I can't.
That makes me really happy. Here's the thing. I mean, nobody's got it all figured out.
Exactly.
Everybody is fighting some private war, and that's one of the reasons why I think it's really important that we treat each other with compassion and empathy, because you never know what private war somebody is fighting. But I guarantee they are. And, like I said, the process of writing this book really forced me to get honest and take a hard look at things and decide, was I going to settle for a life of mediocrity, or was I going to, shift gears and kick ass?
Exactly.
And, the tagline for the book is Unleash Your Inner Badass. And one of the things I say in the very beginning of the book is transform yourself and you can transform the world. And it's true.
Definitely. And another thing I love is that every chapter you bring in stories from your own life that relate to the topics you're discussing, and that's how I really connected to it on a personal level. I may not be in the same situation exactly as you,
Right.
but like I can still relate it to my own life in my own way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I think everybody's got insecurities and everybody's got flaws, and so many people on one level or another experienced bullying when they were kids. And I think that we find that we are all a lot more alike than not alike once we start getting really honest with what it's like to. I don't want to say the daily struggle, but life is messy, and most people's lives are messy. And I guess in this book, I also wanted to show that you know you're kind of seeing the Sean 2.0, where I've been able to figure some stuff out, but it wasn't always like this. Most people only take notice of you once you become successful, and they don't see the struggle and what it
mhm.
took to get there. Everybody, would love to see Michael Jordan jam the ball into the basket, but they didn't see the thousands of hours that he took missing free throws and bouncing it off the rim until he could get it just right.
Exactly. No, definitely. And you go into so much detail about like how you got the role of Mike Barnes. I mean, it's
Yeah,
been discussed in multiple other interviews that you've
yeah.
had. So if people want to learn a lot more
They can
specifics,
read the book.
they can read the book, man. They can read the book. But and one of your stories in there I thought was really cool. I just wanted you to expand upon a little bit was
Sure.
how you, when you got the role, you were like, holy crap, this is so crazy. I'm about to meet the Karate Kid. Like I'm gonna
Yeah,
be on set. Like I remember going to the movie theater, seeing the first two movies, and now I
yeah,
am I am with these guys making the
yeah,
third installment of this trilogy that is so iconic to so many people, especially martial artists. So
yeah.
what was it like being
Well,
like,
I mean, it,
yeah,
it was surreal. I mean, as a really young kid, I used to race home from elementary school during lunchtime to go watch Happy Days.
yep,
And, that's where I first learned about Pat Morita, who played Arnold. So before he was ever Mr. Miyagi to me, I absolutely knew who he was. And of course, as I said in the book, I was a guy that bought a ticket to go see the Karate Kid and the Karate Kid 2. And it was very surreal. But I had to, I took a minute to kind of pinch myself and then was like, wow, I've got a really big job to do. And this is, far and away the biggest thing that had happened to me in my career, but also the biggest challenge I think that I'd ever encountered in my life up to that point. And I needed to really, treat it pretty seriously. So
yeah,
there wasn't a whole lot of screwing around. I mean, I had, not only all the dialogue to learn, but I had multiple fights that I had to learn the choreography for. It was the first time I'd worked on a big film like that, so there was, everything was new to me. There's a whole vocabulary that's used on a film set. If you don't know it, you're trying to figure out what people are saying. I didn't understand anything about hitting marks and camera angles or anything. I had really just started acting, and I had to learn a lot of stuff really quickly, and there wasn't a lot of margin for error.
yeah. And it's crazy because that's such an iconic franchise to pretty much
Cut
start
your
your
teeth
career
on, right?
in. And
Yeah,
I feel like with the Cobra Kai series, they were kind of playing with fire a little bit, starting that thing up because, I mean, in my opinion, the way Star Wars was delved back into wasn't handled the best.
mm.
So, and just the worry of screwing up an iconic franchise.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly could have gone south. I mean, I think the big three did an unbelievable job with what
Mhm.
they've created. I attribute a lot of that to the fact that they've got such a strong background in comedy,
Yeah,
and you know Billy and Ralph have really good comedic skills. I mean, Billy has been just fantastic.
oh, yeah.
In how when you saw the films, you thought Johnny Lawrence was like this rich kid with a silver spoon in his mouth.
Yep.
I remember the scene at the country club and everything like that. And in reality, you learn that he didn't have it so easy. And Ralph, as an adult now running LaRusso Motors, you realize he's got his own set of flaws and struggles too that really humanizes him and makes him a much more likable and sympathetic character. You
Hmm.
know, he's more relatable. So I
Definitely.
think that the guys have just they've knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. And the Karate Kid is, I mean, it's one of those franchises that I'm so happy that like it's been really great so far. Like the films, the TV show. I mean, you
Yep.
killed it in your first role as Mike Barnes. Like I've
Oh,
never been
thank you.
like, even with like Chosen, no, he didn't scare me as much as Mike Barnes did as a kid watching TV. I'm like, oh, I don't want to fight that guy,
Well,
even though it's a
listen,
tournament.
man. If it's any consolation, Mike Barnes would have scared the shit out of me too. So
Yeah, that kind of leads me to my next question. If you've ever confronted a guy like Mike Barnes, have you ever confronted a guy as quote unquote crazy as he is?
no, I don't think so, and I'm very happy that I haven't.
Yeah, that's good. Um,
Yeah.
so you have a pretty good background, like an extensive background in martial arts. I think you trained as a boxer in your early teenage years, correct?
Yeah, I did a little boxing, and then I started with Shotokan karate when I was about 14 years old. And
Mhm.
so, by the time I got the role, I had pretty strong basics. I mean, I've never been a guy that can do all sorts of wild spinning aerial stuff, but I have very strong basics in Japanese karate,
Mhm.
and I don't know that they could have cast somebody with no martial arts background at all and
Right.
made him look like a national champion black belt. They had enough trouble with me, and it's not that I wasn't able to do everything, but they took a look at what I could do and played into my strengths, and it still required a tremendous amount of work. Um, yeah, I was very fortunate that I had been training and was able to do pretty much everything they asked me to do. I mean, I didn't use a stuntman
Mhm.
to do any of my martial arts.
That's insane. That's awesome. Um, another question, kind of piggybacking off of that. I think in your book it says your sensei was Pat Morita's stuntman, right?
Yes, Master
That's
Fumio Demura, who is now head of the Genbukai Karate Federation, was Pat Morita's stunt double, and he was actually the one who let me know that there was going to be this open call for the new bad guy. Yeah. So
that's
that was
crazy.
pretty fortunate too. It was a strange sense of destiny that I got this role. I mean, I had this preternatural sense that I was going to get this role, which is very arrogant for this young kid from Western Pennsylvania. And I remember one night I was back from college, and I was hanging out at the local uh, like quickie mart gas station type deal where my buddies and I used to shoot the shit and everything. And we're sitting on the curb together, and I was like, "Look, there's this part, and it's for the new bad guy in the Karate Kid 3." And I said, "I'm gonna get it." And they didn't laugh at me. They were like, "Yeah, you go get it, man." And I did, and it was crazy.
Your experiences and your days are only going to be as good as your mindset.
That's
And
you listen. You have to believe that you can do it. I'm a big fan of fake it till you make it.
definitely.
Yeah.
I just had a question. I slipped my mind. Oh yeah. Do you still Are you still active in practicing martial arts on the side when you have time?
Yeah, when I have time, I do. As a matter of fact, I was actually supposed to train with Daryl Vidal in about an hour, and I wound up having a work thing. But we're going to train in a couple days. So I've trained quite a bit with Daryl with Filipino stick and knife fighting,
Hmm.
and then we're working on some kicks. I mean, we do it through Zoom right now, which is not ideal, but I train when I can, and I'm looking to get into a situation where I can start training again a little more formally. I mean, it's a little difficult for me to, join a class. It gets a little distracting, so I need
Hmm.
to do it privately. But I really would like to, I would like to get back into it a more regular basis. I've really taken this year to do two things, which was rehab a really serious injury I had to my rotator cuff.
Ooh.
And the injury has healed dramatically. I still have a lot of weakness in my left arm, but I've been training with a trainer several times a week. Lost 20 pounds because I wasn't able to really work out for a while. And so I feel like I'm getting to a really good place where I could start training again and kind of pick up where I left off.
That's really good to hear. I'm
Yeah.
glad you're taking the necessary precautions, but also
Yeah.
striving to get back out there when the time is
Yes,
right.
sir.
That's great to hear. So I'm gonna do probably like two more questions and then
Sure.
see what the chat has to say, what nonsense they're saying down there. Um,
Okay.
so if Sean Kanan, not Mike Barnes, were to be in a dojo, one of the three dojos, and I did see you on Instagram with an Eagle Fang hoodie. So
Well,
that might be,
you know what happened with that was my Annika Noel, who plays my daughter on The
mm,
Bold and the Beautiful, is a martial artist, and I walked into my dressing room one day, and there was this hoodie, and it just was a gift. And so I was like, that was so cool. Thank you. And I put it on and took a picture. And I kind of didn't really sort of put two and two together that everyone was going to read into it and all that sort of
yeah.
stuff. And then there was this, this amazing sort of speculation and all that stuff. Wow. Which dojo would I be in? Geez, I don't know. Now that I think about it, though, I am kind of partial to Eagle Fang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see more and more people are because it's just a great balance in between the two. I mean, you got the
Yep.
badassness without
Yep.
being an a-hole, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and because Cobra Kai, I always looked at it was like, nah, it's way too evil to be in if I wanted to
Yeah.
be in
And,
Cobra Kai.
Miyagi-Do is very similar to what I was trained in.
Yeah.
There's a film called The Real Miyagi, which is about Sensei
Mhm.
Demura. And
Yep.
so, he was the head of our entire organization, and his philosophy, trickled down to our school. And, we had a highly disciplined school, a lot of Japanese spoken in the school, um, yes, sir, no, sir. And it was great because it was what I needed at that age because I desperately needed some structure and discipline in my life, and that gave it to me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just started. So I did karate when I was, first grade or something like that. But in the past 2 years, I've gotten back into it. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Shaolin Kempo Karate.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and my sensei is actually in the chat right now. He's a big fan, by the way,
Ah, okay.
Sensei Mullen.
How you doing,
And
Sensei
it's
Mullet? Us.
yes, we've actually been saying that the past few classes. Us.
Us.
So
Yeah.
that's been a great change that I
Yeah.
needed to make in my life because
Yeah.
back in college and stuff, I was a big basketball guy.
Yeah.
Wanted to play college basketball, and then
Oh,
that
so you're
didn't
an
really,
athlete, so you're probably doing great.
yeah, and that didn't really work out for me. But like, I like working at things where there's like a goal in mind. Like, I just like
Yeah.
being able to learn the new techniques, the new forms
Right.
that go into my arsenal, and I like to be able to tackle it first head on. And I just love going to class and learning every day. So
Yep.
it's truly been one of the best
That's
things
excellent.
for me. Yeah. So last question I have for you is I have a few friends who are aspiring actors since you
Mm.
are very experienced and have been in multiple films, TV shows. What do you have? What kind of advice do you have for someone who's aspiring to make it in the acting profession?
Okay, I'll give you a couple pieces of advice. The first is this: be very sure that it's what you want to do. Be very sure that you're getting into it for the right reasons. It's a very difficult profession. It's full of a lot of rejection. Um, it's one of those professions where you can put 100% into it and come up with nothing. You go to law school, you pass the bar. At the very worst, you can become some crummy ambulance chaser. You're gonna be able to practice law. There is nothing that says that you are going to be able to work professionally as an actor, uh, no matter how hard you work. Now, if you work really hard, chances are that you'll make progress. But that's the first thing. The second thing is if you decide that it is what you want to do, You really need to be in one of the acting centers of the country, which is New York, Los Angeles, Atlanta, to a much lesser degree, Chicago, and I guess maybe Orlando. I don't know. Um, and if you come out, you need to make sure that you've got enough financial foundation that
Mhm.
you can not have to work for a year, or if you're going to work, you find a job where you're working nights, you leave your days open for auditions. um, I would absolutely say that you must study to perfect your craft. um, Things to do that help increase your chances are watching a tremendous amount of film, studying a foreign language, studying a martial art, learning about as many different cultures and history. You never know what you're going to be called upon to play. Um, what else can I say? And the other thing too is that when I started out, there was no internet, there were no
Yeah,
iPhones, and now everybody's got the ability to create something. You can find a monologue and put your iPhone on a tripod and film yourself doing a monologue and put it up on a YouTube channel. So you have
exactly.
something you can show somebody. One of the biggest things when I was coming up is, everyone would always say, okay, well, do you have tape? Meaning, is there something I can look at you on
Mhm.
tape that you've done? And it was very difficult to get tape if you hadn't done something professionally. And now, you know, grab a buddy of yours that wants to be a cinematographer, grab a buddy of yours that wants to be an actor, and put together a scene, write your own scene. There's no excuse not for creating. I mean, that was really kind of the impetus for me doing Studio City. I got tired of waiting around for other people to hire me.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like you said, learning a martial art, a foreign language, those are things that can separate you from everyone else and could
Absolutely.
help you get the role that or a role that you are aspiring to get. I mean, it
Yep.
goes a long way, but it is a lot of work. You got to
Yeah, it
be
is.
you do got to be committed to it.
Yep, it
So,
is.
okay, that's all I have. I'm going to turn it to
How'd
the
I
chat.
do? Did I pass?
I think you did pretty well for my first interview. You were the bar was you hit the bar.
All right,
So,
cool.
so a few ground rules before I answer any questions in the chat. Pretty obvious, guys. You cannot ask Sean whether or not he's going to be in Cobra Kai season 5 because he can neither confirm or deny, regardless. But I will take a gander at some of your questions and try to pick one that stands out to me. So, all right, what do we got? Ooh, here's a good one from Melissa. If you could have written Mike's character in the movies, how would you have written him, and would he still have the same personality that he has in the movie now?
You know, I would have liked to have seen Mike be a much more multidimensional character. I would have liked to have understood why this 17-year-old kid came to Los Angeles unsupervised and was associated himself with a guy like Terry Silver.
Mm-hmm.
Was he fighting because he needed money for his family? What was the reason? I think had there been more colors to play, that would have been great. There was very much a comic book quality to Karate Kid 3, where the characters were very unidimensional. And I think that's one of the things I like so much about Cobra Kai, is that now you have these characters that we've now learned so much more about. They're infinitely more fully formed human beings. And it really, I gave them what they wanted. They wanted to have this, unidimensional, terrifying bad guy to scare the shit out
Mm-hmm.
of Ralph Macchio, and that's kind of what I did. But
You'll
I,
learn more
I think,
about that in the book.
yeah, learn more about that in the book. And I would have liked to have been able to play some more complexity with the character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I feel like, especially back in like the 80s and 90s, there was obviously always like a black and a white character. I feel
Yeah.
like today we're in the age of a gray character where no one is 100% bad, no one is 100% good. We all have flaws, and I love that.
Even if you look at Drago in Rocky
Mhm.
Four, in the middle of the fight, when you see him basically address the Politburo guys at the fight, the Russian politicians, and he says, "I fight for myself." It was, I don't know if you'd say it's a moment of redemption, but it's a moment of depth where you realize that, okay, he's the bad guy, but he's got some kind of a code where he's doing this for himself. And for me, that moment gave him some more depth, where at the end of the fight, when he lost, there was a little bit of, I don't want to say it was feeling bad for Drago, but it humanized him a bit.
That's kind of interesting that you say that, because it's the same could be said for Johnny when he gave the trophy back to Daniel.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah. Well,
even,
I never saw Johnny as a bad guy.
yeah,
I mean, he even when he holds you're okay, LaRusso, and gives him the trophy.
and even like Darth Vader too.
Yeah.
That kind of counts.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we got time for maybe one last question.
Sure.
Here's a good one. Would you ever would you ever want to make a movie based on your life? Not necessarily all the same details, but some of it or similar.
Would I ever want to make a movie based on my life? I think 55 is a little young to be considering sort of a memoir-esque film about my life. I like to think that hopefully my most exciting and best moments are still yet to come.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be an interesting movie. I've definitely had some very interesting experiences in my 35 years in Hollywood as an actor. It's not something I've really thought about. I think possibly because, I put a lot of that into Way of the Cobra. And I'm also working on a follow-up book right now to Way of the Cobra. I'm starting to outline it, which is
okay.
Yeah, I'm playing around with titles. I'm thinking of calling it the Kumite.
Okay.
Yeah, that life is a Kumite. That's what I'm playing with. So I'm gonna include a lot more personal stories to attach to the lessons. So I think for me, writing is allowing me the opportunity to do that, to give a little glimpse behind the curtain of my personal life. At some point, if somebody was inclined to make a movie about my life, it would be extremely flattering. And boy, I sure would be curious to see who would play me.
Okay, I lied. One quick question.
Sure.
One more quick question from my mom. Actually, her and my grandmother are massive General Hospital fans, and
hi. Okay, thank you.
Myself and his grandma, huge fans of you playing AJ Quartermain. Who was your favorite actor on General Hospital that you worked with?
Who was my favorite? Well, Steve Burton and I were very close when we worked together. Wally Kurth is a buddy. Maurice is a buddy. Maurice Bernard. I pretty much got along with everybody. Rena Sofer and I did a film together years later, and now we're on Bold and the Beautiful together. Lily Melgar is in the new episodes of Studio City. So I had a pretty good relationship with everybody. But Steve Burton and I are cousins by marriage. Steve was instrumental in helping me get the role on General Hospital. And, we played brothers. We used to always say, when AJ and Jason couldn't say anything on TV, Sean and Steve always could. And we thought that, that's what helped make our relationship believable.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's going to do it for us today.
Well, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. It was a real pleasure talking to you. And I'll tell you what, we can do this again sometime if you're down for it.
Oh, I'm down for it, man. No, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a very busy and hardworking guy.
I appreciate it.
I'm very thankful that you were my first interview on this channel. I
didn't know it was your first interview.
Very first one.
Dude, you killed it. You did great.
You think so? I mean, I was I'm over here.
Your interview was no joke.
Really?
Definitely not a joke. I am gonna have to give the gratuitous plug for the book. If you want to get a signed copy of Way of the Cobra, please go to wayofthecobra.com. And if you just want to, get the book itself or get the ebook, you can get it on Amazon and Kindle. And, I always say this, that, I do a lot of podcasts because I have a book. Of course, I want to sell books, but from the bottom of my heart and with all sincerity, I believe the information in this book has the ability to transform people's lives, and I want to get it into as many people's hands as possible. And for that reason, I'm so passionate about it. And I think if you read it, you'll be passionate about it too.
Amen, brother.
All
One
right,
last
man.
time, I'm going to mention that link is in the description to Way of the Cobra. Go pick up your copy today to transform your life and be the ultimate badass.
Thank you
once
so
again.
much, you guys. Thank you to your entire audience, and thank you to your mom and your grandma. Okay.
Thanks,
Take care,
John.
brother.
Have a
Okay.
good one.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. That's it. That's all I got for you. Thank you all so much for tuning into this interview. It means so much to me. There's going to be plenty more Cobra Kai and Karate Kid videos coming on the channel. So if that's what you're into, please consider hitting the subscribe button and leaving a like if you want more content just like this. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.